Welcome to Regulate and Rewire, an anxiety and depression podcast where we discuss the things I wish someone would have taught me earlier in my healing journey. I'm your host, Amanda Armstrong, and I'll be sharing my steps, my missteps, client experiences, and tangible research-based tools to help you regulate your nervous system, rewire your mind, and reclaim your life. Thanks for being here. Now let's dive in.
Friends, we did it. We made it to the end of my longest series on this podcast yet. And while that series was technically 8 episodes, it really felt more like 10 because today's episode is really here to bring all of that together, to invite you into more regulated living, not just as something that you learn about and listen to here on a podcast, but as something that you step into in your daily life, as a way of stepping towards a more regulated nervous system and reclaiming your life from anxiety and depression. So that's 9 episodes. And then the week before the Essential 8 series, if you remember, or maybe now post this series, you want to go revisit it, I did an episode to prep for that series all about why behavior change matters when healing. So that makes really a 10 episode series. And I know mid-series we had a rogue episode. And what I hoped this series brought into view for you was the pivotal role that your physiology plays in your psychology, that mental health is really an outdated term. It's just health. Our mental health is physical health. Our physical health is mental health. The way that you are living your everyday life significantly impacts your overall well-being. The way that you feel in your mind, the kinds of thoughts that you think, the state of your nervous system, how you feel in your body. And healing doesn't have to be about reliving and rehashing and talking about the hardest moments of your life over and over and over and over again. But so much of healing becomes accessible and within reach for us when we start to take the habits that make up every day of our life seriously, when we understand our physiology enough to work with it towards healing. And this is not a lifestyle overhaul overnight, but this is an invitation to reflect on each of those essential 8 and say, where do I want to start? What could this look like for me? Because something that you've heard me say 100 times in different ways already here on the podcast is that when you are not sleeping, eating, breathing, moving, resting, playing, or connecting enough, you should expect to be sick. Your mental health will suffer because your brain and your overall health is suffering. When we or life expects us to sacrifice the very habits that nurture our nature of being human, we are unwell. And there is no amount of talk therapy or meds that heal symptoms caused by a dysregulated nervous system or daily habits that rob us of our general health. We cannot heal when we continue to live in chronic stress. And so much of the way that we engage with our daily lives contributes to the stress that we experience or creates a system that's more resilient to it. So for today's conversation, let's just start by answering the question, what is regulated living? It is about living with routines and habits and practices that support a regulated nervous system. Habits that support healthy mental, physical, emotional, and relational well-being. It involves the habits that make up your daily life, as well as cultivating the skills necessary to effectively self-regulate and manage stress, to be able to move up and down that nervous system ladder with agency. What are your tangible nervous system regulation tools? On this podcast and in my book, you hear me talk about these as proactive and reactive strategies towards healing. And so, like I said, I want today's conversation to really be an invitation for you to reflect and hopefully step into some aspect of more regulated living in your life. And regulated living, it's not about living your life based on some perfect research-supported protocol. It's about doing enough, having good enough habits that your brain, your body, and your nervous system have what they need to not feel depleted. And when we do this, when these needs are met enough, our nervous system has a natural capacity towards healing. And exactly what enough looks like is going to shift and change during various seasons of your life. But that's why having this fundamental and foundational understanding of your physiology is so important, because it's not just, hi, I'm Amanda, I'm a nervous system expert and a functional physiologist. Like, do what I say. Here's what the research says. This is not a robotic, and sometimes I think we wish it was. And that's why I think there are individuals out there who have a voice, who are like, here's what the research is. Here's the protocol. Follow this protocol for optimal well-being. And that's not what you're going to get from me. That's not what you're going to get here. You will hear from me. Here's what the research says. And you need to filter that through your real life circumstances, the preferences and the capacities of your unique nervous system. And what I hope to offer so often is just a foundational understanding of the key pieces of our physiology that matter, so that you have the awareness and you're empowered to allow your habits, your personal protocols to ebb and flow with different seasons of your life, while still being anchored in knowing how all these things work together for your well-being. Because for me, I'm in a season of young kids, a growing business, house projects. Friends, if you could see my backyard right now, maybe I'll make a point to share it on my Instagram stories today. We got a quote for some landscaping. We nearly choked. And my husband and I decided that we were just going to give it a go ourselves. I don't know what we're thinking, because half of my backyard is dug up now. And it turns out you can learn just about anything on YouTube. So we're going to give a flagstone and a homemade dug-in sand pit and a lot of things a try. But right now, for me, in this season of my life, I cannot possibly be expected to be dialed in to a daily exercise protocol, tracking macros, sleeping perfectly, connecting with my friends as much as I want, making sure to get my 20 minutes of morning sunlight within the first hour of waking up, regular yoga or cold plunging or sauna. Like there's no way I can check all these boxes. And so for me to be well in this season of my life, this is a season of my life that is asking a lot of me, where I'm juggling a lot of things, is for me to be very, very clear on what keeps me well and what matters most to me. And it's also essential for me to know the signs of my wellness slipping, so that when I notice it is, whether I am more agitated, I'm more anxious, I'm feeling more burnt out, if I can catch those signs of my wellness slipping, I can course correct a lot sooner in whatever ways possible. Regulated living is not a perfect protocol, but little choices every day, a bit here, a little bit there, of habits and practices and relationships that nurture our nature, that provide co-regulation, that minimize the endless depletion that society often demands of us with its focus on productivity and more. Because the gentle, but oftentimes gut-punching truth is that if you want to feel differently in your everyday life, you have to change the things that you're doing in your everyday life. We have to start living differently. I want to take a minute and just read a paragraph from my book. For those of you who have my book, Healing Through the Vagus Nerve, this is on page 142, and the section is titled Living a Healing Life. And it reads, "The reality is that you can do all the vagal toning exercises in the world, but if your overall lifestyle is still fueling dysregulation and chronic stress, then there's only so much healing that can happen. The exercises are still helpful," I'm referring to the exercises in my book, "but they can only do so much if you're still living in chronic survival mode. It's like having a sprained ankle, then wearing an ankle brace, but continuing to run on it every morning. Wearing the ankle brace is supportive, but your ankle is going to have a hard time doing any kind of productive healing if you're continuing to stress it each day by running. The same applies to your nervous system. Regulation comes from cultivating supportive practices, stress management, and intentional lifestyle shifts. Gradually, strategically, and consistently applied." And then the next section of the book expands on this concept by going into a deeper dive on proactive and reactive tools. But in this conversation today, I want to break it down in the context of the Essential 8 series that we are finishing up. And also within the context of our methodology at Rise As We and how we help clients heal through this physiology and nervous system focused lens. Every single one of the habits that we talked about in this series influences the state of your nervous system, influences the health of your brain. Far too often, people are being labeled as a disorder when really they are having an appropriate physiological response to their past lived experiences, their current life circumstances. You should be tired if you're getting less than 8 hours of sleep on a consistent basis. You should be anxious if you're having 3 cups of coffee in the day, especially if you are skipping breakfast or riding this blood sugar roller coaster. You should feel depressed. Your nervous system is going to shut down after years of chronic stress. You should be struggling to focus if you are spending 5+ hours on extra screen time. You should struggle with energy or be feeling low if you're not hitting the minimum guidelines for physical activity. Anxiety and depression when we are overstressed and undernourished in all of these ways is not a disorder. It's not pathology. It's physiology. And that is something that I hope 10 years from now, 15 years from now, we are going to look backwards and collectively as an entire mental health field be like, obviously, why weren't we assessing? Why weren't we taking this seriously sooner? And so, like I said, what I want to hold space for with this episode is an opportunity for you to pause and reflect. I'm not giving you a perfect blueprint to follow because regulated living looks different for all of us, but instead to reflect on the past 8 weeks, each of these episodes, each one of these habits that heal, these essentials to being human. And I want to offer the same reflective questions that we engage with our clients when looking for a place to start. So number 1 is, can you identify which of these areas, which of these essential 8 is your number 1 self-care? And what I mean by number 1 self-care is which of these, when it is really, really dialed in, it makes it hard to have your worst day. And I'll give you a little hint that for 8 out of 10 of our clients, the foundational habit is sleep. So question number 1 is, which of these is your number 1 self-care? Number 2 is, which of these feels most in your control right now? Your number 1 self-care might be sleep, but if you've got a young baby or you're working a night shift, it's not going to be productive to really put all of your effort there, regardless of it being your number 1. So it can be helpful to also say, okay, which one of these feels most in your control right now? And then question number 3 is, which of these is most interesting for you? Which one of these sounds the most fun or are you the most curious about engaging in? And so with those questions in mind, I am going to read you the list of our Essential 8 again. And as I do, either hitting pause or just coming back to this and asking yourself, which of these is my number 1? When it's dialed in, it makes it really hard to have my worst day. Which of these do I feel like I have the most control over right now? And or which one of these feels the most interesting to me right now? We have sleep, movement, breath, vagal toning, stress management and all of its various subcategories, nutrition, community, and interception. How's your sleep? Is it your number 1? Do you have control over it? Are you interested in it? Movement. That could be daily movement or a more structured exercise protocol. Breath. Your daily breathing or learning how to use breath work as a reactive tool. Vagal tone. Stress management. Nutrition. Is there a focus on breakfast? Blood sugar regulation. Maybe you have a lot of food intolerances or IBS or gut issues and you're like, yeah, that's where I'd like to start. Community. What's your felt sense of belonging right now? Do you have a safe place to show up and navigate learning to be more well? Interception. Do you know how to sense what feelings are happening on the inside? Do you feel connected to your body? Do you know how to be in conversation with your body? And then when helping our clients figure out where to start, we look for an intersect. Is there an intersect between your number 1, what you're interested in, what feels most in your control right now, Let's pick one place to start. And maybe you're like, well, there's three that I could. There's no right or wrong place to start. Just start with one. And then in that area of your life, we help our clients set up a habit ladder. And then we start with the smallest possible change you can make in that area. That tiny habit, that 1% shift. We start there. And then when that small shift becomes your new baseline, we layer on another and another and another, and you would be amazed what looks and feels different in 3 months or 6 months or a year. Small shifts layered over time are what regulates our nervous system. And a fun way that we do that inside our membership is that every single month we have what we call a quote due, our monthly due. And it is just a small aspect of more regulated living that we focus on as a community together. And they all correlate with one of these essential 8 in some way. So a few months ago, we did decluttering the home as part of stress management. Last month, we did time outside working on a daily walk habit. So that was in movement. This is another stress management subcategory. This month, we're focusing on tech boundaries. And what I love is that this community support makes it playful, makes it fun. And while some of these shifts may feel small in the moment, every single one of our members gets to look back at the past year of participation in this space and see that month after month after month, these small shifts, one on top of another, creates a new baseline, creates a more regulated way of living, creates more capacity within their nervous system. And it's really, really amazing for people to get 3, 6, 9 months down the road and share things like, I didn't know if it was making a difference, but X, Y, or Z happened and I responded so differently. Or my partner noted just how much more present I am in my daily life, how much more joy they notice that I experience. And I think it's because of these small shifts in the way that I live my daily life. And I think I've been abundantly clear, dialing in all of these habits is not the only thing that's needed to heal. We do often need to do some of this deeper rewiring work. There's trauma that needs to be released. But asking our systems to do that is hard and challenging. And it can be really helpful to provide some stability and capacity through more regulated living and then take on some of that deeper healing work. And the greater context here is, do you feel like you understand enough about your physiological and psychological needs to navigate your life with more agency, with more intention? Because if you don't know what you need, then there's no chance of getting those needs met. If you don't know what your mind, your body, and your nervous system needs, then we don't have a whole lot of agency, or we're not very empowered to support that. And sometimes even when we know or think we might know what we need, we don't know how to do that. So many times I've gotten on a discovery call with a client who tells me how they know what they need to do, but they can't get themselves to do it. And sometimes these folks that I am on calls with are nurses, other coaches or therapists, the helpers who can talk the talk, but struggle themselves to walk the walk. None of us are immune from the messaging of hustle culture, of the endless posts about how we should be parenting better, healing better, living better, doing more, the right and the wrong ways to eat and exercise. I think one of the most dysregulating things for us is how much information we have access to. And I think an example of that is this month inside the membership, we are focusing, like I said, on technology boundaries. And one of our members shared in a recent call that she doesn't spend much time on social media, but that she was recently shocked to see that she's spending 8 to 10 hours a day on her phone. And she is realizing that because of her health-related and other anxieties, most of that time is spent researching one thing or another. We can drive ourselves mad. We can exhaust ourselves in this relentless pursuit for more information or the perfect right next step. And I'm here to tell you that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's not the perfect next place for you to begin. It's about just beginning somewhere and making enough helpful choices. It is the noise of options that oftentimes exhausts our capacity. So with this series, this is my invitation to pick one. Just pick one of the essential 8. Make a habit for it. And if with that singular focus, you still find yourself stuck in making any traction or any behavior change, if you're still staying up too late, scrolling on your phone instead of going to bed or reaching for coffee before you make yourself breakfast, feeling disconnected from your body, this is what we support people with every single day. And one of my favorite things about what our clients get from our one-on-one coaching program or from our membership is a personal look into the circumstances of their lives and their struggles. For example, the other day inside the membership, I was supporting a really burnt out mom. And what she thought she needed was this perfect tool or strategy to help her stay regulated with her kids in those last few hours before bedtime. And yes, it could be helpful for her to have more tools. But what we talked about instead was a more tangible strategy for how to navigate that time with her kids. Because there's no regulating or managing an unmanageable stress load. And for her, at the end of a workday, trying to give all 4 of her children exactly what they need every single night, it's impossible. And where we landed, going back and forth, was what if instead she had a system for her family and she informed her kids, gave them the context, they worked through this transition, that each of her 4 kids, they all knew that there was one night a week, and it was a specific, predictable night a week, that was their special night for quality time with mom. Maybe they got to be one-on-one in the kitchen with her, or they got to go for a walk, really knowing the child individually. And I asked her, I said, how does that feel? She goes, oh my gosh, that's so simple, but that sounds like it could be so helpful. And with that context, my other kids would likely be okay that they're getting a little bit less because they know that there's their night where they get that one-on-one time. And it gives her system the context for, okay, today it's the one, and maybe it's okay if the other 3's needs get met 60%, 40% even. Their time will come, and this will accumulate over time where each of my kids is going to look back and have gotten the connection that they need from me. And it was amazing. And as a community, we kind of made this joke about how she's like, why was it so hard? Why couldn't I come up with something like this? And I said, because when you're in survival mode, your prefrontal cortex is literally, it's offline. When we're living in survival mode, we don't have access to curiosity, to creativity in the same way as when we're regulated. And one thing I love about coaching, and this is the joke that we made, was that I get to come into these sessions and I get to be your prefrontal cortex, or I at least get to support you as a prefrontal cortex and engaging in curiosity and creativity to be strategic about how we navigate real life situations in a way that is not as draining. And the most amazing thing about this is I said, go, give it a try. Give it an honest go for a few months. And if it doesn't work for you and your family, come back. Let's figure something else. So much of this is trial and error. And that's what I love so much about this membership is it's a space to do life together. And that's what I want to spend the last handful of minutes together talking about is how I invite each of you to do life with each other, to do healing with each other, and to do it with me, which is inside my membership. And I wanted the end of this big series and this announcement to be really well curated and to be timed with the release of my new website and an announcement on Instagram. And my website is months away, and Instagram has taken a major back burner because I'm a working mom to 2 tiny humans whose backyard is half dug up. And I am in a season of challenging myself to just do way, way less. And a big part of me wanted to put off announcing this until everything was ready. But in the spirit of being human, of imperfection, of breaking my own patterns, of believing that I can only present perfection to the world, the update for podcast ears only that won't actually appear on the surface for probably a couple more months is that we are shifting the name of the membership from the Rise membership to the Regulated Living membership. Now, I understand that this is likely a very anticlimactic announcement for you. It doesn't change anything about your life, but it feels like a really exciting and grounding and clarifying shift for us at Rise as We. And I'm changing the name of the membership to Regulated Living because I think it captures more fully what that space and that membership is designed to do. And while Rise is a beautiful name and it has held so much for us, obviously the company is still Rise as We, it's still there. The Regulated Living membership is a lot more reflective of what we're doing together as a community in that space, with each coaching call, with every fun community event that we do, with every workout followed by breath work, for every comment that is left that says something like, it feels so good to know that I'm not the only one who struggles with this. That is what we are doing. We are stepping into a more regulated way of living, to more regulated nervous systems with each other. It feels really hard to accurately share or put into words what it's like inside the membership because it's a really different experience for every single person based on where they are in their healing journey, how they're engaging with the resources. But I have been getting a lot more questions about the membership lately. And what I want to do here is pull back the curtain on what's inside. So if you are listening right now and not at all interested in joining, that's what the next handful of minutes are going to do. So go ahead and reclaim your time. You don't need to stay and listen. But if you do, whether you're interested or not, this can hopefully help you determine whether you'd like to give it a try inside the membership for a month, 2 months, however long, or are there elements of things that are offered in the membership that you may want to incorporate in your healing in your own way? And the analogy that I always use to describe the membership is to think about it like a gym membership. A gym membership simply gives you access to the space, equipment, and coaching that you might need to be more physically fit. And there's not a specific right or wrong way to use the gym. Some people love group classes, other people use the pool or the weight room. How you use the gym might depend on your preference, your goals, your fitness level. And it's really similar inside the membership. There is so much inside this space, so much that it's not actually uncommon for one of our new members to express feeling a little overwhelmed at where to start. And the good news there is that myself and my team are inside that membership daily answering questions. And we always try to get to know our new members at least a little bit to help them get to the resources that are going to be the most supportive for them, to orient to this membership in a personalized way. But I want to take the next few minutes and unpack the different things that you will find inside that space. This is a really good fit for people who are seeking a healing home, a healing hub where mental and physical health have an equal seat at the table. It is not a place for somebody who's looking for a quick fix or the 6 steps to become anxiety or depression free. This is a self-paced and community-based healing home, and it's packed with pre-recorded and live coaching. So one of the first things that you'll find inside is a welcome series to help you orient to the space, and also a directory of our amazing coaches. Individuals inside our membership have access to, as needed, additional one-on-one coaching sessions if there's ever something they want more personalized support with or a little bit more privacy to work through. And the content you'll find in this space starts with our signature 8-module healing course. Each of these modules helps you learn a little bit more about how your nervous system works, how to assess your stress bucket, how to create your personal reactive and proactive tools to step into more regulated living. And with each of those modules, there is also workbook pages and worksheets and open office hours where you can come and get personalized support as you navigate through how to apply each and every one of those lessons to you and to your healing journey. And in the next section of content, you are going to find daily regulation practices and daily 27-minute workouts that change every single month. We really wanted a no-brainer way for our members to be able to support their mental and physical health. So those daily regulation practices are about 10 minutes, and each day is a little bit different. Some days are breath work, they're meditation, different somatic sequences. With these exposure to different kinds of practices, you get to figure out which ones you prefer, which ones have the greatest impact on your system, and over time, build out your own reactive regulation toolkit. And then these 27-minute daily workouts, because movement is essential to our brain and body, and exercise is one of the most well-researched alternatives to medication for anxiety and depression symptom reduction. So these workouts are just typical workouts. I've been a certified personal trainer for over a decade. I have a lot of experience in functional fitness. So these are a mix of strength, cardio, core, yoga, and it's as close as you can get to just working out with me in your living room. You hit play. All you need is dumbbells and resistance bands. And sometimes in these recorded videos, my life happens. So my kid or dog barges in. I might look down and realize that I haven't shaved in a while. And I will comment on how long my leg hair is because I just have no filter. I integrate into these workouts mindset, breathing, regulation tips while we move together. And so it builds in this element of co-regulation and working out, not for some toxic fitness culture agenda, but working out, showing up, strengthening your body with the aim of just being a healthier human, showing up for yourself because you deserve that. You deserve to take care of yourself and to show up and live inside as healthy of a body as possible. So there's the course. There are daily follow-along regulation practices and workouts. And then there is a content library full of in-the-moment tools to help you navigate being stuck in states of dysregulation. One of our members recently shared how helpful it was to have the practices categorized by yellow zone or red zone. Sometimes we call that part of the content library the SOS kit. And she was in a place where she would feel really anxious, but she just wouldn't know what tool to use. And so she started just opening up the app, going to the yellow zone, and hitting play on one of the 2-minute videos. And just how much that worked for her, that helped her in a work setting, it helped her in her home setting. That was really rewarding to hear. And that's just one section of our content library. You'll also find detailed resource sections for each of the essential 8 bonus workshops. And this is a place where, at the request of our members, we often create new pieces of content, different guides, different practices and resources based on the needs of our community in real time. And then the part of this space that's the most fun for me is our live events. Each month we have a variety of different live events. There are what you'd expect, the live group coaching calls, a Q&A, the monthly release class, these regulation sessions. But we also love to build community and to play. And we do this with a monthly live workout that's sometimes followed by breath work or a cold plunge. And then every single month, we have some kind of fun community event that has no coaching agenda. The goal is just to hang out, learn something new, spend time together, to have the shared experience. We've done floral design classes, watercoloring. One month, we just did a show and tell. Because healing is not just about checking off a list of healthy habits. It's not just about unpacking, but so much of healing is about cultivating more good, about finding this felt sense of belonging somewhere. One of our members recently described that being in this membership is like having coaching and community in your back pocket at all times. Myself, the other coaches, were active in commenting. There's a place where you can DM me directly to get support and ask questions. And ultimately, it's the tools, the resources, the community that I wish I would have had earlier in my healing journey. So that's the big announcement that will eventually carry over onto my website and Instagram and other places, is that the Rise membership is transitioning to the Regulated Living membership. And if any of this sounds interesting to you or supportive to you, I would love for you to join us. This membership is offered on a sliding scale pricing model. It's month to month. There's no contract, no minimum number of months. It is here to serve and support you, if ever, and for however long it does. And I already gave a little bit of a spoiler alert, but if you choose to join us, make sure that you fill out the new member form. It'll be right there in that welcome series. And when I ask for your address, it's because I hand make and mail each of our new members a little welcome gift, because I need each of you to know that this space is different. This is a space where you aren't just one of 100 members. You will be one of 100 members, but it is a space where I will get to know you by name. You will be fully seen and supported and loved. And the only way that I could think to make an online membership feel more personal was to actually send something to your doorstep. So that's another one of my favorite things about this. I love what's been happening in that space. And it's such an honor to be so intimately invited into your lives, into your healing within that space. And I'll also put in a quick plug for those of you who are looking for a more personalized, handheld, intimate journey through this work. We have Restore, which is our one-on-one coaching program. And we have just about 5 to 8 open spots each month for that 4-month program. And for those of you who go through that program, part of it is that after you graduate, if you will, after those 4 months, you get lifetime access to the Regulated Living membership, which is a really fun perk to going that route. And as always, you will find the links in the show notes for how to navigate your way towards those programs if you feel like they might be supportive for you. And when in doubt, send me an email, send me a DM, and we can talk about it. All right, let's sum up today. Number 1, regulated living is not a perfect protocol to follow, but more a general way of living a life that prioritizes health and well-being and wellness and social connection in a way that regulates your nervous system and supports healing from anxiety and depression. And takeaway number 2 is that as you do this, as you take these baby steps, stepping into more regulated living, your nervous system will do what it does. It has a natural propensity, a natural trend towards healing. And when the system is more stabilized, that is when turning towards that deeper work can be the most effective. And number 3 is a final nudge or invitation to join us. If those resources sounded helpful, if this community feels supportive, it would be our honor to support you inside one of our programs. And I will warn you that working through our programs or healing in this way is not a quick fix. It'll invite you over and over and over again into assessing and editing your life to step into more sustainable, authentic, and regulated living. And that is a lot easier when we're doing it together. All right. This officially wraps up and ends our Essential 8 series. My hope is that you had at least one profound, one helpful takeaway from this time together. And if I don't see you inside the membership this week, then I will see you in next week's episode. And until then, I'm sending hope and healing your way. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Regulate and Rewire podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review to help us get these powerful tools out to even more people who need them. And if you yourself are looking for more personalized support in applying what you've learned today, consider joining me inside Rise, my monthly mental health membership and nervous system healing space, or apply for our one-on-one anxiety and depression coaching program, Restore. I've shared a link for more information to both in the show notes. Again, thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.